England 1, Senegal 3.
Jim, what do you reckon?
It was only a friendly.
Yeah. Oh, got them in the old friendly rule.
England have never been beaten by an African nation in a competitive match.
When it matters.
That's the takeaway.
And the thing is, judging from the reaction last night and this morning, we treated it as such.
Yeah.
Not important. It isn't important.
Well, it was...
Reminded that he was German again on the interwebs.
Yeah,
here
that
we
was
go.
good.
That didn't take long, did it?
Yeah.
England's first defeat to African opposition, of course, in their history. It was their first loss since October 2024. It's not that long ago. Not that long ago.
It's really not.
When Greece won. England's heaviest defeat since that 4-0 loss at the Molineux against Hungary, of course, in 2022.
Why do we play in the Midlands?
I don't know.
They shouldn't be trusted with this.
No, I don't think so.
Get back to the capital.
Maybe it's a test of how angry we can make the provinces.
Good point. Good point. Stick to the home counties.
Yes.
We're safe, yeah?
Uh-huh.
Do you mean London?
We all endorse this,
Which
don't we?
stadium in the home counties?
I don't know. Where is the home counties?
It's just all of the counties around London, isn't it?
Perfect.
Bar
Yeah,
Essex.
Bar Essex.
It's a very...
I think it is a home county, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I think it's a very snobby thing, the home county, so I think they get...
Almost certainly not, yeah.
Fair enough.
So
Absolutely fair enough.
Everywhere but the London Stadium, then. Okay, good.
There we are.
We've got to the root of the problem, actually. Now, should we move on to Belgium versus Wales?
Yeah, I don't think anything else needs to be said. Other than Senegal, unbeaten in 22 matches.
Yeah, lovely stuff. And
Impressive.
you can kind of see why.
Well, actually, Vish, you were saying that what you wanted from this game was for Senegal to give us a test and to press us and to harry us, and they
but
really
not
did
not
do
that
that.
much.
Absolute
Not that much.
monkey paw of a wish, that.
You wasted that.
Oh, dear.
It was...
Use the next one to try and undo what you've done with the first one, and then I'm sure it'll be fine.
That's how it compounds it, yeah. Oh, God. I think the thing I'll say about the overall performance from England yesterday was that they went back to the old days of looking around and thinking, A, this shouldn't be happening to us. B, why is this happening to us?
Yes.
C, who can stop this from happening to us?
Yeah, and D, where's Jude Bellingham?
Yeah.
Oh, he's here. I think C is the crucial point for me, because that looked like a team who didn't know what their game plan was.
Yeah.
And obviously the relationships aren't there on the team, on the field, because it's a bit of a it's an unusual team, isn't it? It's a lineup we're not really seen that much of. And they just looked a bit lost and a bit clueless, and they didn't really understand how they were getting to goal.
Well, the personnel who were used. I mean, make what you will, but to me it was the setup. I found that interesting. We'll talk about more of the details in the game, but it was a sort of 4-4-1-1, and when I saw the team sheets come out and so on, and England were kind of set up like that, I remember thinking, no, it won't be that. It'll probably Eze will be there, and it'll, because we're so used to say that the 4-3-3 is what the 4-4-2 used to be back in the day, and it's fine if you want to play a sort of a variation of 4-4-2 or whatever.
This is the English style he was talking about, isn't it?
Well,
except
Jim,
he's actually doing it.
What, Jim?
Which we surely don't want.
I wonder
the English
if,
style is the problem.
Indeed, I wonder if he thinks to himself, "Oh, okay, maybe if I set up in a certain way, these players are more comfortable with that." And maybe I honestly, because the reason why, and people might go, "Oh, come on, surely not." But tell me, what was he trying to do there? This is the thing. Like, I understand. The only thing I thought is he wants to try and get the best of Eberechi Eze and give him not a free role in
the hole,
but he's number 10 kind of position, floating around and doing his thing. And Eze was one of the...
Maybe he'll try a diamond next.
Now you're talking. But if that
Christmas tree.
Yeah, but that's fine if you do these things, but do it. Don't just kind of go, bollocks, we'll have a go with this now.
Yeah.
And that formation is not, I don't think, going to get the best out of Rice, not going to get the best out of Gallagher in the midfield. And then Saka playing a sort of a right side when you want him a bit further forward. It was a bit strange. I think the players could have and should have done a little better.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of, in fact, almost exclusively poor performances individually.
But for me, the worry is that, as everybody's been saying, where's the kind of, we say improvement. I mean, look, so when Southgate finishes, right, his time had ended. And when Lee Carsley came in, there was like a slight fresh feel. And it was that funny result and odd performance against Greece, and the opposition wasn't too much. But it was fairly kind of, but there was
a couple of new faces, a couple of different quirks within like an overall structure.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So other than that odd game against Greece, you're right, Vish. It's there under Tuchel so far. Other than isn't it great to see Big Dan Burn get a call up and one or two other players and Lewis Skelly? I think that's been good to see him.
Yeah, although he had a poor game,
he did,
as most of them did.
But otherwise, I'm a bit like, what? I don't know what he's trying to do. When he talked about playing with intensity and a smile on the face and so on, there's none of that. You can always say, well, he doesn't know his best 11. Well, that's fine. A lot of coaches tinker and so on. But where's the system? Where's the structure? I'm sort of a bit like, has he learned anything of note from this?
Do you think what he's doing at the moment smacks of trying to figure out who he can and can't trust?
Maybe.
Because as you said at the start, there was no real reason to play this particular formation unless he's trying to smoke out people who aren't dexterous enough to do different things.
I think that is a very generous kind of interpretation.
But that's where we are, Jim. What else is it, though?
But I'm not saying... I think if he is doing that, it's awful.
Right,
it's
I see.
Pointless.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason I could think to trying all these different things is to he's almost treating it like often club managers treat pre-season, where it's like, right, who do I think I can trust over the course? Basically, given what we need to achieve, who can I trust? Who is not going to let me down?
But he's big on trust, Tuchel. He's an intense bloke. I mean, Saka said in an interview, he said, it's been intense and he's, full on, but he's a nice guy. He was quick to say as well. So, and the trust thing, a number of journalists have talked about Tuchel, saying he's big on trust. He's big on the character of certain players and so on and so forth. But I mean, still though, I think we're grasping at straws. I think it's relevant to sort of suggest that, because otherwise I don't really know what's going on.
This suggests to me that this is the team picked entirely on what's happened in the training camps, right? It must be.
Sure,
I think, It makes very little sense to me to start Kyle Walker at this point. I mean, it makes little sense to me that he's in the squad. I can't believe Alexander-Arnold has only made one appearance from the bench in these two games, and I just think he's one of the nailed-on starters for me. When you look at England had a plethora of right backs for a long, long time, and Walker never let England down and was a big part of how they played under Southgate. So I understand why he went for Walker over Trent Alexander-Arnold for a long time. But I mean, that has flipped entirely at this point, surely. And I'm really surprised that Walker's still getting the nod.
I think it's a shame for Walker because, as you say, he's been a great servant for England. The reality is there have been some big moments in huge matches where he has sort of slightly switched off, but I don't want to.
And that's what's interesting, isn't it? Because his pace is still there largely, but it is the times where he switches off, like the first goal.
Well, I'm talking about the Euros final. Both goals come down his side.
Yeah,
and you might think, well, is that a bit harsh? Well, okay. Even if whatever you may think,
the second, just to jump in there, the second is a bit harsh because he's advanced for a reason when they come back the other way.
Okay.
But the thing about Walker, and it's kind of sad for the reasons that Jim articulated there, is he really and truly shouldn't be in the squad, and it smacks a bit of the Hendo thing that he feels like he needs the experience in there. And I don't think he does from Kyle Walker, to be honest.
I don't think he does as well. I think with Walker, I mean, he started off when he went to Milan on loan, starting games, and then fairly soon after that, he found himself on the bench that didn't take the option to buy, and he's now going to have to find a club. Look,
it seems like such a waste of a camp.
It does, and I think with Walker in particular, I suspect that may well have been his last game for England, and that's a shame. And with Walker, I totally get again the temptation to think, no, but I can still contribute, I can still do something, and I've been to 2 finals next summer, World Cup, that'll be my last one.
But that happens to every player.
Of course, he has that temptation, and he's not going to say no. I understand, whereas Trippier said, that's me done at international level. But I think that may work. It's a shame when the player's performance dictates that. Actually, no. I think we're done. And
although what's frustrating though is that it hasn't, because I think if that had truly been the case, he wouldn't have even been in the squad.
Well, no, as in the performance last night, it will dictate. I think, and it should do, because if he is in another squad, I think people just go, come on. And I think if Tuchel learns something, it's to go right. Scrap all that. right, what am I thinking here? I mean, I thought he might. See, the thing is, I don't want to go back to Southgate too much, but under Southgate,
yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Get him back. I think
I don't want to look at this photo in my wallet too much, but while I have it open,
while it's there, often in some of the games, if they were a bit drab, you could kind of see what he was doing or trying out formation wise and so on. I thought we might see Tuchel try sort of a 3-4-3. Like at Chelsea with wing backs and all that kind of stuff, and say, okay, well, it didn't really work, or it was a bit static, or that there was elements of that. Again, I think that's the problem here. And look, I know this is going to, as I say, every straw that one can grasp at. I'm kind of, am I glad England lost? No, but that forces you to start. If Bellingham's goal counts,
which it should have done,
and
it would have papered cracks.
Exactly, yeah. But look, Harry Kane got his goal.
Of course he did.
So that's a positive.
But again, even with Kane, there's an interesting kind of little subplot here, which is that Ivan Toney gets 3 or 4 minutes at the again. I know Kane had come off before that and been replaced by essentially no striker.
Well, Morgan
Rogers, who was kind of playing up there. But that again it's just confusing, isn't it? I'm trying to figure out what he's trying to figure out.
Well, the only thing I can think with the Toney situation is he's seen something in training and he just thinks, no, you're not up to the level, or maybe like his attitude, whatever it is.
You're not for me.
Because he said, 1 minute Tuchel's saying he's the most Kane-like player we have, and even compared him to, say, Ollie Watkins.
Yeah.
Who scored a winning goal in a semi-final, by the way, for England. But he basically said, oh yeah, he's more like Kane. Watkins, no, not so much, which doesn't go in Watkins' favour. So he talks about Toney in that regard. And then when he comes on the pitch and he's asked about this for the last few minutes, he then sort of gets a bit chippy and goes, well, actually, it was more than 3 minutes or whatever. It's like, okay, fine.
Well, yeah.
Injury
6
time was
minutes.
he was, a total of
he brought him
7
on in the
minutes.
88th minute.
Yeah. Okay, so 7 or 8 minutes. And then he said, but Tony's a specialist for this kind of thing. And it's like, what is he? I don't think he is. I mean, Toney, just start for Brentford. Okay, in England he came on, but anyway. So I don't know. But look, we're going to have this with England, I think, for a bit with Tuchel. Wondering
for the rest of our lives, Mark. It's going to be like this for the rest of our lives.
I mean, where else do you look on the pitch? I mean, Colwill and Chalobah were the centre backs. Kind of did okay.
Yeah,
in one regard, in another regard.
Do you think I really like Levi Colwill.
But
I always get a sense that I want more from him. And I think sometimes that because he's a centre-back and he's quite imposing and he's clearly very talented, and then I realise maybe I'm being a bit harsh because he's still very young.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I'm like, do I trust him to be England's centre-back at
I know what you mean,
the World Cup next year? And I don't think I do.
Probably not yet. No.
Well, I think this is a thing. John Stones, all being well, will be starting. I don't know if
there was even talk of like Stones playing, in the
Andorra game.
Well, yeah, just in front of the centre backs and stuff like that. Like it's,
I don't know if.
Do you think Stones will be? Do you think Stones might be a bit quote unquote out of date?
I don't know. I mean, Stones will be 32.
I think
Stones
will be fine.
Off, and I think that might actually be sort of. He might be at the perfect level of experience with enough left in the tank that could be absolutely ideal.
I don't think Colwill and Chalobah are starting for England.
No.
I think
surely Gay and Konza are both ahead of them.
Well, Konza's in the squad. I mean, there seems to be. I mean, people saying maybe Tuchel doesn't fancy Gay for whatever reason. I don't know. So the back line, he needs to sort that out. As I say, the dynamic in midfield in that game was very, very strange. And England, I think, I wonder, going into these matches, England often now talk about, teams play in a low block and they dig deep, so we've got to unpick them and blah, 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 blah. And there's always this assumption that, we're the better side, so we're going to have to do this. Senegal didn't give them a minute.
No.
Senegal were fantastic. The way they pressed, the way they harried, England were having to defend quite a lot. And the way they created chances and so on and so forth, I think England only jumped into life when they went 2-1 down. Now, yes, you can say it's an end of season friendly match.
Well, that's true for Senegal as well.
Exactly, yeah. And people might say, but they hadn't beaten European opposition since 2018 and da-di-da-di-da. You've got to be better. You've got to think about the bigger picture. And England were far too poor in possession. They were sloppy with passes, all that kind of stuff. And yes, you can tighten all that stuff up. Of course you can. When the tournament comes around, heads are on, etc., etc. But this was a shame for England because Senegal provided a proper test and England failed it miserably. And in fact, it's funny we're phrasing it like that. For Senegal, who are prepping for the Africa Cup of Nations this year, might say to themselves, England provide a proper test. And they go, well, we came through that with flying colours. It was a wonderful victory for them. But the way they played, you could see that there was much more cohesion with their team. The way they pressed and harried, the way they moved as a unit at times. It was great. Now, England still created some chances which they should have scored. Gordon should have scored in the first half. Gibbs-White should have scored as well.
That was a terrible miss.
It was an awful miss. Yeah, I think it was brushed over a little bit. And Saka, on another day, maybe that goes in because Mendy produces an unbelievably good save. And that move, when Saka gets on the end of it, was the only kind of bit of real sort of bright spark.
This is sort of what we want from England, isn't it? For them to zip the ball around and be a bit quicker. And consistently, England teams are so slow. We saw it again here yesterday. But yeah, you're right. That was, I suppose that was a little bit of a bright spark, but it was essentially one moment from the 90.
Tuchel mentioned that, didn't he? That, there was a little bit of something there. But, so what? Gibbs-White playing on the left of a 4. I know he came on and he showed a bit.
The lovely moment between him and Eze, actually, where Gibbs-White probably should have done better.
He should have
wow.
The flick from Eze was brilliant.
That's so good.
Yeah. And that
was almost worth being happy about.
Yeah. It was almost enjoyable.
Yeah, it was almost like, they have joy.
Yeah.
They are allowed joy.
Oh, no, the smile's been wiped off.
He hit it straight at the keeper.
Yeah. So, England, look, there's a year to go until the World Cup, and we're going to talk about big picture, or bigger picture for England on tomorrow's show, on a Thursday thrill, if you like. We'll try and make it as thrilling as possible. But it's kind of like, it's not panic stations because there's a year to go. And lest we forget,
When is it panic stations? What date? So I can put that in my diary?
I would say look for my signal.
Comes around quicker every cycle, doesn't it? Panic stations.
You look for my signal. Think of me as the air steward, okay? And there's turbulence, okay? You see me calm, still serving the drinks.
Yeah,
you're all right.
It's just air pressure. It'll be fine.
If you see me shit myself and run to my seat and strap in and get a parachute on my back, right? Then you know. You know. All right.
Imagine seeing an air steward put a parachute on. Don't worry about it. Seatbelt signs on. What this? No, nothing.
It's just a fashion choice.
It's a rucksack.
Don't worry. This parachute's big enough for all of us.
Fancy little Danish rucksacks. Don't you worry about it.
If you can, just grab a limb. Oh, dearie me.
We need Tyndall in there.
That's the bit. That is the huge takeaway.
Oh, wow. Imagine if the FA just like, right, Thomas, we're still going to let you do it, but going to give you a little help.
Well, look, it was a bewildering performance from England, quite frankly. As I say, on tomorrow's show, we are going to talk a bit more about England and looking ahead to the World Cup and maybe talking a little bit more about some of the personnel and how Tuchel should set up. In England's qualifying group for the World Cup, Alexander Mitrovic scored a hat-trick against Andorra.
Ooh, that's how you do it.
England got to go away to Serbia in just a few months' time. I'm nervous, I'll be honest with you. Right, everybody, coming up after this, Wales and Scotland thrill, and Marinakis is scheming again.
So yesterday in the press conference, I asked you a question saying that you have never lost a qualification game in your career, and you asked me those matches.
I forgot Tottenham.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Nice to hear from Jose Mourinho.
Sometimes.
Now, Monday night was a great game in Belgium. Belgium 4, Wales 3, of course. Wales came back from 3-0 down to level it at 3-3, and then Kevin De Bruyne won the game in the 88th minute. But Wales and Craig Bellamy continue to impress. Obviously, they lost the game. But Jim, that was some good stuff from the Welsh.
Absolutely incredible comeback. It's a shame for them that that obviously Kevin De Bruyne gets that late winner. But I mean, this is it's a rivalry for the ages at this point, isn't it? It's such a kind of regular fixture of the international calendar, just through various quirks. And you feel for Wales actually, because or early on you do at least anyway, because Craig Bellamy obviously has hit the ground running. He's been really, really good. They drew the opener 0-0, didn't they? And said this is the worst will be, and then they're 3-0 down after 27 minutes. You think, God, this could be a setback in a number of ways. But then they get that comeback going, and that shows the belief that he's instilled in them. And that I think reacting to setbacks is a huge, huge part of your mentality and your ability and your energy, and those are all the things that Bellamy's clearly instilling in this group of players, and they've done him proud there. Again, it's a shame that De Bruyne gets that winner for them late on, but I think it shows them what they're capable of. when the chips are down, and that is really important in international football, and certainly in qualifying campaigns as well.
Well, it is. I found goal scorer Sorba Thomas's quite interesting when he said, "I don't think they showed us the respect we deserve. I think that they thought the game was done, but we showed our Welsh fire. We run through brick walls for each other. Even though we lost, I feel like we won in our own heads."
That's concussion from the brick walls. You should get that checked out.
Should do. He did say as well, he went, "I can't wait to play them in Cardiff."
Yeah, brilliant.
Which I love all that. And you can see that Bellamy's got this team going. And he's right, because how you would spin that, you would say, okay, the late goal from De Bruyne, well, it's a brilliant delivery and a wonderful finish from a guy who's been one of the best players in the world for a number of years now. And I think if you look at the team, I think it might be Brennan Johnson who just kind of switches off and lets him drift because, he shouldn't be unmarked at any point, but especially, 6 yards or whatever it was from goal. And I think that these are the learning points. You kind of go, right, okay, that's where you've got to keep the focus for the whole game. But, it took a brilliant moment from, as I say, a world-class footballer to do that. And the fact is that Thomas is saying, I feel like in our heads we won. That kind of confidence they're going to need because it's not the most straightforward of groups. And it's a 48-team World Cup. Like I was trying to convince my Scottish mates the other day, is there's a real chance to do something at the tournament next summer because, of so many teams progressing to the next round. Get yourself in there and keep this momentum going.
Do you think that's the motivation that the nation of Scotland needed? Giving them that little pep talk?
Well, as I said, I really, really tried and then they got beat 3-1 by Iceland. But, it's still all to play for because they did just beat Liechtenstein 4-0, Jim.
Yes.
So have a bit of hope there for Scotland. Che Adams scoring a hat-trick. Thanks very much.
Yeah, lovely stuff.
Torino's finest.
That's him done for another few years, isn't it?
Outrageous.
No, it's just on average, it is, isn't it?
Do you think he was better off not scoring 3?
Yeah.
Do you think he used them all up?
Save them, yeah. It's June, mate. It's June in an odd-numbered year. What are you doing?
Yeah. Is that against Liechtenstein?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Save it for Brazil.
Steve
Exactly.
Clark said that in the post-match. Well, I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
I told him specifically.
I wanted to take him off.
He is.
I wanted to take him off in 24 minutes and he got one in the 25th.
Oh, dearie me. Aberdeen's backup goalkeeper, Ross Doohan, started the game, but didn't make a single save.
Because they gave them a doing.
Yeah, oh, dear.
You've got a feel for Slicker.
You really do. Ali McCoist has been linking Ange Postecoglou to the Scotland job.
I love it.
Yeah.
Ali McCoist can do whatever he likes as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's certainly what he felt back in the day. But
Are we veering dangerously close to just going to Ali McCoist on everything?
Yeah,
I appreciate
maybe.
this is football related.
Mm-hmm.
It's his nation as well. He's obviously a big fan of Ange, having done a lot of European football this season.
he's not that big a fan, being an ex-Celtic man, Ange, of course.
No, but as in he's talked. I've heard Ali McCoist talk about football that Postecoglou plays, and
he can rise above it.
Yes, yeah. Unlike some.
Can he rise above it? I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure he can.
But there's from the AC/DC stuff to just being constantly on.
Is that the reason why he would go for Postecoglou?
No, but it's just why is he just bringing this up now? It feels like we're quite close to asking him. I don't know, he might be on a question time panel this time next year.
He might be, yeah. I think that there's a lot of chat in Scotland, isn't there, about Steve Clark?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And you're thinking, well,
it's all very similar, isn't it?
It's all very similar, yeah. And similar chats to what they had in Wales about Page and obviously England with Southgate. If you're thinking about who could then take over, because it's all very well saying, we'll get rid of who are the sort of likely candidates or whatever. Postecoglou knows the country and he knows international management.
Yeah, he does.
And we'll know a lot of the players.
Yeah. But I don't think it's going to happen, though.
No. And not now. I don't think it's entirely impossible in the future. It doesn't. I'd be surprised if it was his next job after Spurs.
10 months' time.
Sure.
Another Premier League season somewhere and back in for the World Cup. Gentlemen, let's leave international football for the moment and let's talk about European club football. Have you seen that Nottingham Forest have written to UEFA with their concerns about Crystal Palace participating in the Europa League?
Outrageous.
And I made the mistake the other day of having a look on X. And saw some people talking about this.
We've missed you.
There was a Forest fan having a chat with another Forest fan. Going, Crystal Palace fans are salty, aren't they? They've only written a letter. It's like, I don't think he's looking for a pen pal. I think that letter's going to be fairly pointed.
They've only written. Why have they written a letter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Palace.
You only DM'd your girlfriend, mate. Chill out.
Palace met UEFA officials last week in an effort to avoid exclusion from the competition because old Johnny Textor, who has a 43% stake in the club, also owns Lyon, who have qualified for the same competition. Now, Palace argued to UEFA that they're not in breach of the rules because the clubs are not part of the same ownership group and do not share any staff facilities or information. And Textor also sort of said, nobody listens to me at Palace, so I've got no influence there.
Yeah.
It was kind of his plea.
I mean, the frustrating thing about this is it's a little bit of slack admin from Palace, isn't it? Because they didn't think they'd be in this situation, but it's nothing more than that.
No. Well, and they're so Forest, obviously, if you remember, we were talking about this before, and I'm sure you're aware that the Forest are in the Conference League and they would be promoted to the Europa League should Palace have to duck out of it. And Palace's Europa League spot, though, could now hinge on whether UEFA decides to allow Lyon to take part in the competition next season. Because UEFA disqualified Lyon from European competitions in December, but then allow them to continue playing after the club met certain demands. Lyon are being carefully monitored and could be disqualified from next season's Europa League themselves, which would save Palace. So there's a lot of moving pieces on this board.
I mean, it's also very possible that John Harris and or David Blitzer, who are, two of the other part owners of Palace, could simply buy John Textor's shares, and that will probably be what happens, I would think.
Yeah, so maybe. Forest have written a letter about Palace, and Palace are like, right, we'll write a letter about Lyon. Let's try and get Lyon kicked out. That's quite a good idea.
Yeah. I don't know who Lyon messages about, but and the other complication is
none of these people have fax machines.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's like an admin version of that last scene in Reservoir Dogs. Everyone just writing letters at each other.
Is Lyon? They're what's his name? Who's been shot?
Yeah, he's on the floor. Yeah,
Lyon are on the floor now, are they?
Yeah.
Is that what's happened?
Does he survive in the end? Spoiler, but
none of them do.
They all die. No, they don't all die. One of them crawls out. Hopefully that's Palace.
It's so the
Kevin Spacey, isn't it? Just walks away and he doesn't have a limp. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he gets on the helicopter and flies off that island.
That's right.
But he was dead the whole time.
Yeah. And Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. He was beating him. Why are you hitting yourself? He said. Why are you shooting yourself?
Oh dearie me!
And they film it in different, jumbled up the scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's a funny old film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was awful.
Keeps saying the N word, doesn't he?
Yeah,
bit weird.
Really likes putting that in the script in the voice of a sympathetic character. And the foot stuff. What a prick! What a prick!
Oh dear!
You know what? Palace deserve to be kicked out. There's absolutely abhorrent behaviour from Crystal Palace Football Club.
Yeah, give Man City the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Hey. Coming up after this, movements across Manchester. It's transfer talk, everybody, and there have been movements in Manchester. Manchester City have signed Wolves left-back Ryan Ait-Nouri for £36 million.
He's a great player, Ait-Nouri. I think that's
absolute
a brilliant signing.
steal.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Annoying
I was surprised it was that low, actually, but then who knows what's written in contracts these days. He signed a 5-year deal with the club. And as soon as Man City were in for him, it was one of those ones where I thought, of course they're in for him. And you would imagine he would be used quite a lot by Guardiola.
I think, he'll come in as a starter, you would think.
Yeah,
he's perfect. He plays exactly the way they want fullbacks to play.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's got a goal threat as well. I mean, there was a time a few seasons ago, possibly last season, where he was actually used as an attacking midfielder. And, if you play for Man City as a fullback, you are going to spend some time in those areas. So it's a really, really good weapon.
Yeah,
that's right. In what is, as far as we know, Pep's last season.
Well, yeah, who knows?
That's his contract, Jim.
Yeah, but he's
respect the contract.
But he often does short contracts, doesn't he?
This
was. I know that you just want to be right sooner rather than later.
When was the last time he did a short contract?
Well, I think he's done that fairly regularly, is he not?
This was an extension though,
right?
His deal, so he signed a 2-year extension, and this is the final year of it. And he has often made those noises, hasn't he? But they've got themselves a player there. It does mean though that Wolverhampton Wanderers have now sold £98.5 million worth of players already. They're yet to make a signing who are they going to go for?
Yeah,
Splurge it on one player.
Yeah, be really sensible on it. Just get one guy in.
Get Declan Rice.
It's a frustrating one, isn't it? Because Wolves obviously finished the season so strongly. Pereira's been a great character and got them playing really good football. So you look at them and you think they're in a position to maybe surprise a few people next season, fly up the table and make the idea of a relegation battle look like nonsense. But obviously Cunha and Ait-Nouri have been absolutely key players in that. So you hope that that they can weather that, because it means it's a much harder reset, isn't it?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, trying to build on that. I mean, Cunha was always going to go.
Yeah.
So they got a good whack
and they got
for him.
Good money for him as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Ait-Nouri, again, as soon as it was mentioned, I was like, oh, yeah, of course. So it'd be interesting what they do. You would imagine, though, that they might sign a Portuguese player or two.
Yeah, one or two.
You know?
And they'll probably be fine.
There's a little lad called Vitinha. Get him back.
Buyback clause.
We got a clause there.
Yeah.
That would be quite something. But even though apparently Lionel Messi thought he was crap, according to reports.
Yeah,
although he's denied
he
it.
says that never happened, didn't he?
Yeah, he's not going to get into war of words with Messi.
Yeah, but then obviously that man's a liar. Look at him.
Messi.
Vitinha. I just think he looks like a spiv.
Ah, yeah. There's a bit of kind of D'Artagnan mixed with the Artful Dodger about him.
Yeah, a little bit like that.
There's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer and Bart are at a fun fair, and there's a guy like flicking cards between his hands. And I forget the context, but Homer looks over him and goes, "That guy looks like a sucker." It's like that guy's going to rinse you for everything you have. And Vitinha looks a lot like that man, which is what I base this on.
Which is kind of proved in the Champions League this season.
Yeah,
and the UEFA Nations League. He's just pickpocketing opposition midfielders all day long.
What on earth? You just don't notice him.
Yeah.
The other thing about Messi, he...
that guy.
Yeah, but I can't imagine at any point in his life has he uttered an opinion on someone.
Oh, he did at Barcelona, apparently.
Yeah.
Full of opinions.
Yeah, there was talk that he was said a similar thing to Alexis Sanchez at one point. Who knows? Who knows?
Oh.
Pull your shorts down.
Yeah.
You look ridiculous.
Anyway, Man City.
Yeah.
This is horrendous. Tijani Reinders is confirmed now. Ray and Cherky, they're after Livramento as well. It's like they're trying to do a kind of transitional period, but in the space of about a week.
Yeah.
Because they brought in lots of new backroom staff as well. They are really just like, no, hard reset. None of this nonsense from last season again.
Well, they've
go again.
Also signed Marcus Bettinelli from Chelsea as a replacement for Scott Carson.
It's boring, but you have to do it.
You have to do it, and they've obviously, and I didn't think it would happen this way, but they've heeded my advice.
Yeah?
It's always nice to have a Marcus in there.
Well, God, yeah, they've even got that box ticked.
Yeah, so I am quite concerned because obviously Guardiola had heard me saying that the Empire's, is finished, and he's thinking we're gonna do old Speller, aren't we?
Giving him the motivation that he needs.
Yeah, well, they're going the right way about it. But Ryan Cherky signing from Lyon is a big one. Reported for about £34 million.
What?
Again,
that's a release clause one, though, isn't it?
And it's so annoying.
Yeah, but they're not the only ones who knew that, surely.
Well, but the clubs tried to get him last summer. Fulham tried to get him. And he basically went, no, I'm better than this. And I was like,
yeah, he's really cool as well, so I believe that.
I don't like what Marcus Speller's been saying about Pep Guardiola. I'm going to hang around and see if I can get a move there.
Bide my time. And that goal he scored against Spain, it was ultimately
outrageous.
A consolation. But he's a glorious footballer.
Do you think he'll come in the De Bruyne role?
No. I think he'll be. I genuinely think he'll be like a bit of a luxury. He's gonna. I swear to the man above, if Guardiola turns him into a functional recycling machine out wide, I will burn that place to the ground.
That's what makes me wonder.
He's
if he
so
might
much fun.
Play in the middle a bit more though, because he's played across those kind of front positions.
Maybe
and they're fairly well stocked out wide.
But then maybe part of the reset is Guardiola going forward with a bit more flair. So maybe he's seeing Cherky as someone who, actually, I like what this is about. Let's see more of it.
It could well be actually that Cherky plays wide and Foden just stays central now.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, they're getting the business done early.
They are.
They are not pissing around.
And they're like, where's Marmoush going to play?
Yeah, well, yeah. He probably centre half. Don't
mind that at all. Next to Reinders.
There you go. I mean, they are getting the business done, and there seems to be a real steely determination, as you say, and a sort of a clinical edge to this. Of last season, no, that was a load of bollocks, and
that's not how we do this in this horrendous regime.
Exactly, and we're gonna prove all the doubters, whoever they are, Jim. Couldn't name any of them. We're going to prove all the doubters wrong next season. We're going to have it. And
also, they're going to have like all the youngsters we saw last year.
Yeah.
Because they're at that age where they just develop quicker over the summer.
right.
Like Nico O'Reilly's going to be the best player in the world.
Well, totally. And also, they made a few signings in January, of course. So they'll be bedded in. Yeah. They've got that whole summer. They've got
Rodri's back.
Rodri's
fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Are you crying, Vish? I understand.
Yeah, when we talked about Manchester movements, we really have just focused on Man City.
Ones.
You thought to yourself, hang on, although Man United have done some all right business.
They've done some great business.
Threatening to do so. But also, though, Man City, you mentioned about changing backroom staff and so on. They've appointed former Liverpool coaches, Pep Linders as assistant coach and James French, the set-piece coach. Kolo Touré as well, former Man City man.
He was at Leicester. He was coach at Leicester, wasn't he, Kolo Touré?
Yeah, he's rejoined the club as well.
Rejoined Money City, as he said it in his press conference that time. Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, appointing the former Liverpool coaches, especially Pep Linders, there's something about
They're
that.
going to put a statue of Carlos Tevez up next, aren't they? They're not messing around.
Oh dear. Well, look, let's talk about the red half of Manchester. They are in talks with Tom Heaton over a new deal.
So it's exciting all
Why are we
over
bringing this up after talking about
City?
all that? All their signings for peanuts. Oh, Man City have signed the Angel Gabriel for £10. Oh, United and talk to Tom Heaton.
I mean, just all at the club.
Yeah.
Former England international.
And yet we still have to convince him.
He never did anything wrong last season. Oh, he did make that mistake on the post-season tour.
Yeah, which was quite embarrassing.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, I think it's important that he's there.
On the post-season tour. City didn't do that, did they?
I've got Club World Cup.
Yeah.
The Manchester United also confirmed that Christian Eriksen, Victor Lindelof, and Johnny Evans will leave as free agents. And when they say free, they very much mean they're not shackled. They are like
off you go.
Must be like
Serve their time,
leaving prison. Yeah, exactly.
Good behaviour. You can go now.
Where do I go now? That's simply no longer my problem.
Yeah.
But it should be your delight. You don't have to be here.
Get some wages off the books, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it does. I do suppose.
Although, I mean, we joke, but Cunha and Mbeumo are fantastic signings, and we should acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Well,
Mbeumo's not confirmed.
It's looking likely. Like he only wants United.
But if Mbeumo goes there, that would be. There's also, I mean, there's Victor Osimhen has suddenly started being mentioned.
Yeah, he's a funny one, isn't he? Because I think he's turned down a move to Saudi. I'm sure he's not going to stay at Galatasaray, surely.
But that was there was a heavy hint towards that.
There was. I think they would like him to stay. I mean, he scored an absolute hatful of goals there. He won, what was it, League and Cup double? Very, very good season. Clearly clicked with what's going on. I mean, he is that oven-ready striker for me. And I think with Manchester United, they've still got the pool, obviously. If they get in Cunha and Mbeumo and Osimhen, I mean, the idea of them not creating chances, not scoring goals, that's not a bad response to that.
No, absolutely.
It's not bad at all. So
Pogba's still available on a free.
Is he really? Come home.
Just saying.
Come home, Paul.
All is forgiven.
Oh dear.
I never complained about you anyway. So.
No, exactly. Yeah. So
because I'm an idiot.
Well,
go on.
Well, until Manchester United actually do something again in the transfer market, we will just mention what they have done, which is, of course, getting rid of some of those players have left, and Tom Heaton's talking about a new deal. So. There we are. Right. What about this then? Something completely different to end the show. Tuna company John West have been forced to deny that they have any financial interest in Sheffield Wednesday.
I love this.
It comes after Wednesday are now into their second week of late payments to employees.
That less so.
Their statement reads, neither Thai Union Group nor John West Foods have any interest financially in or connection with Sheffield Wednesday FC. For further info, please contact the club directly. Thank you.
This feels like good but weird PR to me from John West. Like just seeing how that works. Like John West denies it has any involvement in the discovery of a new Earth-like exoplanet. Just don't ask us about it.
Yeah, you could just
pump what?
You could just pump this stuff out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I should clarify that the Thai businessman Dejphon Chansiri owns Sheffield Wednesday, and his family are the owners of the Thai Union Group, who own MW Brands, which is the company that owns John West Tuna, among other brands. So, something smells fishy to me, fishy.
Yeah, this is so weird.
isn't it?
Because then surely like every every company that they own.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, if they own Ryvita, would Ryvita have to come out and be like,
Yeah.
no, it's nothing to do with that?
And it suggests that Sheffield Wednesday players have been turning up at like John West factories going, where's our money?
Yeah.
Where's our free tuna? Well.
We'd rather money, actually.
Yeah.
Can we have both?
Yeah.
Well, there we are, Sheffield Wednesday fans. I think that clears that up.